Hi, Madeline. I just want to take a few minutes to give you some feedback regarding your charcoal reduction drawings and exercises. I'm going to start here with the charcoal reduction value scale, and this looks nice and strong, going, especially from the middle tone of the paper, which your tone of the paper appears quite light here, using your eraser to draw with, which is excellent. And as we kind of gradually transition over to the darker values, your black looks good and your number, let's see, 5 right here looks good, but these two start to take on a lot of similarities. So think about how you possibly could lighten this one so it is right in between these two values. When you go ahead and you tone a piece of paper, make sure that you tone the entire sheet going off of the page, and that you also tone the paper by doing it in one direction and then using paper towel and then making the movement of the marks going in the opposite direction. So you're gradually building it up to more of a middle value such as this. Right now it resembles kind of number 3, and it really should be a little bit darker like number 4. For the still life for Unit 11, I asked you to collect these items at the beginning of the semester. Okay, so paper bags are usually pretty easy to find. And so I don't want you to be drawing from an object on a computer screen. And the reason for that is because this is not you drawing from life. This is you drawing from something that has been flattened on a computer screen. This class involves drawing from life and drawing from observation. So know that going forward that you are going to increase your skills more by looking at direct objects and seeing how they relate in space. So you're actually looking at something three-dimensional and you're making those observations when you translate it to a 2D sheet of paper. So for the single bag drawing here, this is a nice start. Again, you want to think about composition, so I would encourage you to draw this larger so it breaks the picture plane. It looks like we are also missing the cast shadow, so this appears to be floating on the surface. And it really only looks like you've included one value, and that's a darker value that you're describing with line. So in charcoal reduction, you want to think about how you can describe values that you see as shapes. And you're going to use both your eraser and your charcoal to get the dark values and the lighter values. So if I go over to your still life here of your 2D image, I can see that there's light hitting this object, right? So if there's light hitting this object, an eraser should be used in those areas to help pop it forward, okay? So that will indicate where light is hitting the object. Essentially, in this drawing and for this whole unit, I would like for you to integrate all 8 of these values into this drawing, because what it's going to do is it's going to help you translate what you see and help this shape appear as a three-dimensional object. You have a nice start with the marks that describe some of the creases, but value, transitions, and value also need to be included. For the mass line gestures in the second focus area, something to think about here is you're filling in the mass of the object. I hope that you're doing that before you describe it with a line. As I move kind of throughout, and I know I'm working backwards here, you don't want this to exist just as a line. You want to make sure that you fill in the entire shape of the object to help describe the volume or the mass of the object. So this is just an outline right here. In reality, this all should be filled in as one solid shape, and then using line to describe the edges. So here is your multiple bag drawing. And again, I can see where you are indicating where the darker values are, but you're starting to indicate where the lighter values are. But what about all those values that are in between in that charcoal reduction? So including all of those would help these shapes become more and more volumetric. Another thing to think about is not describing the edge of a plane with line, especially in charcoal reduction drawing. Try to avoid using line to describe the edges, but think about it as a shift in value. Okay, so if I look at this edge from this plane to this plane over here, this triangle right here is much lighter in value, so I'd use my eraser. And then this might be the middle tone of my paper and so forth. So again, you want to make sure that you're including all 8 values. Another thing that's missing here are the cast shadows. So right now, these appear to be floating in space. So in this 2D image, you have cast shadows that are given to you right there. And also think about how you could draw these larger so that you're activating both the positive and the negative space. Right now, this looks as a solid background area. So those are some things to think about going forward as you continue your drawing practice.